Female characters. Women make up 50% of the population. Of course, there's gonna be many female characters in media we consume. Women have been a subject of art since cavemen discovered how to scratch memories into the stone wall. I'ma be real, a lot of female characters are terribly written. And do you really want to be the next up-and-coming comic artist or novel writer and have the critique hoisted your way that your female characters have the intrigue of a millennial beige mom's house? And if you're a woman watching this video thinking you're safe since you're not a guy, you must be great at writing women. Oh, no, you're in this group too, sit down. It's like when an artist kid in 7th grade draws like the weirdest shaped breasts ever on their like OC, and then someone asks about it and they're like, I'm a woman, so I would know. You wouldn't know. That was me when I was a kid, but you know, you wouldn't know. Most women aren't thinking in detail about the weight and texture of boobs and how they may fall against a chest. Unless you're me. Or a lesbian. I'm not a lesbian, but jokes aside, I'm Saba Black Sheep. Have you any soul? No sir, but today I'm going to be talking about how to write female characters to avoid these common pitfalls. The flat chick, and the one everyone hates because she's morally nuanced. And I'll warn you, the latter is pretty hard to avoid. I'm gonna be honest, I haven't figured that one out. I think that's more of a product of shifting the culture, if anything. So buckle up, and if you're already writing in the comments calling me a delusional feminist, let's be fair. You weren't gonna be a good writer anyway with these comprehension skills, so what does it matter? Now, I'm not gonna pretend like there isn't a biological lean in how people write any character, including women. I'll at some point make a video about this, about male characters and how men and women mess that up equally in very different ways. But since there is a relative biological lean, I'm going to be covering the average issues I tend to see with femme writers writing women characters, or how masc writers will often mess up writing women as well. Let's start with femme writers. Now, the main issue I tend to see committed among this group is the complete sidelining of said character. You'll often see this Tumblr. Okay, I am sorry. You're gonna hear Indigo in the back, my lizard, and I can't do anything about it, and I have to record this. So you're just gonna hear him scratching. I'm sorry. He just went the restroom, and now he's upset and running around his cage. You'll often see this in Tumblr-esque work like Haspin Hotel and Hell of a Boss, and a lot of artists' original stories that started out as some Tumblr character they drew that everyone called Soft Bean, where the creator often seems more focused on the male-centered media than fleshing out their female characters. You'll see this heavily with Hell of a Boss. Hell of a Boss was completely taken over by the main gay ship, sidelining almost everything else. Characters like Millie so rarely get a moment outside her husband, or characters like Luna just being completely defined by her adoptive father, Blitz. I tend to call this flaw in writing Fudoshi brain, as the writer doesn't dislike women and probably considers themselves a feminist, however writes for pleasure more so than having a genuine desire to tell a complex or realistic story. And honestly, I'll say it, that's okay. If you got Fudoshi brain writing, it doesn't make you a bad person. And I think all the people pretending like Vizzy Pop are the scum of the earth, or any writer that tends to lean more towards that interest in yaoi for some reason, because they just don't put as much effort into their female characters, is a bit pedantic. I definitely understand the frustration. It comes across as trashy and misogynistic for some reason. But ultimately, I view this stuff as narrative fast food. Kids love it, especially teens. Teens love yaoi. Some adults do as well, but for the most part, you kind of grow out of it. I know when I was a kid, I'd write exclusively gay men characters, not caring about my female ones at all. But I was like 13. And if you want to create something more profound, I highly recommend looking at this flaw in your writing objectively. There's nothing wrong with wanting to write like gay stories between men. That's awesome. But it's just a certain tone of how it's written. Realistic gay relationships are vastly different than yaoi relationships. It's like when a guy watches exclusively lesbian schmorn. It's just a bit weird. I see this a lot in beginner artist OC projects where there are just countless gay boys they call small bean, and then the female characters are just like the sisters, the mothers, and they're not like treated terribly unless they're like the one that has the crush on the male interest, but the male interest is like, no, I'm gonna touch my male friend instead. But it's just always focused on the guys. Even when the female character is the center for a romance, they often fall kind of flat, i.e. YN-esque characters. I won't even get started about the mess of badly written male characters there are in those like bodice ripper novels that have become really popular nowadays thanks to book talk. I think people that often create these more self-indulgent fantasies are using the main female character to project themselves onto in the story. However, the projection is often ill thought through. Actions inconsistent, as if the person doesn't know who they are, as they're just swapping masks to constantly fit whatever scene fits this fantasy in the moment, rather than being like a real, complete person. One minute they're bratty, the next they're overly submissive, then they're super strong, but then they're also super weak and need saving. Like, oh my god, pick a fucking lane. I think a lot of this is due to a lack of introspection and self-hatred and horniness. I don't really have an issue with self-insert characters, but people often don't have the self-reflection to make the character compelling and a well-rounded individual, as most don't much like looking at their flaws. To write a character with your own flaws, and then the character becomes someone everyone hates, the writer can take it to heart reasonably. And also, if you're writing these because you want to make money, pop off. These things make so much money. Like bodice ripper novels, damn. I would do it if I even knew how to write that terribly. I understand the nerves around making like a proper, well-rounded insert character, but I highly encourage, if you're writing a self-insert, have some compassion for yourself. You aren't some evil monster, and being raw and realistic with who you are while writing can make some of the most compelling characters out there. An odd thing that seems quite prevalent in Phantom Spaces is the undue hate towards female characters for very stupid reasons that a male character so rarely gets hate for. One I often see among women is hating female characters for getting in the way of gay ships. Naturally, genuine critique of female characters in shows is okay. However, I find characters like Sakura, Ochaka, and Mikasa are all main female characters that often get a lot of disdain from the female audience due to them getting in the way of popular yaoi ships. And honestly, dude, that's pretty cringe. Characters like Sakura were just butchered by the anime. I understand why people don't like her. The anime turned her into an opulent brat. Even I, watching the show forever ago, couldn't stand her. However, so many will despise her for being in the way of Naruto making out crazy style with Sasuke. Look, I understand not shipping the canon ships. I can't stand shonen ships oftentimes because so many of them are written with the depth of a middle schooler thinking since they got sat next to someone they're gonna get married someday. It's just silly, in my opinion. Totally okay if you enjoy those ships. There's a certain innocent charm to them. I can understand why you like them. They're not for me. I hate them with a passion. So often in shonen shows like Naruto, the female characters exist to either be eye candy or merely support for the male characters, or often both. They try to circumvent this by making them strong, but they never manage to be stronger than the male leads, and their strength is told, not as much shown. It's just sad in my opinion, and I'll get more into that when I talk about mask writers writing female characters. If you like my art and or videos, consider checking out my webcomic, Penelope's Peon. I post it on Tapas. Or join the 17+ Discord server to meet a bunch of cool artists and get your art in the next video. Now for the flaws in female OCs I often see mask writers committing. I think a lot of young men grew up with Naruto, Dragon Ball, One Piece, etc. And it really has kind of placed the groundwork for their morals and value system later in life, for a lot of people at least. But it also sets a precedent for narrative work. Many of these shonen fans have grown up and now wish to make their own story akin to the shonen preset. And since so many of these people grew up with those types of shonens, their understanding of female characters and how to write them is quite lackluster, considering shonen animes and mangas often heavily sideline their female characters and just push them into the main characters as a bide for attention. So I will see masked writers and artists making their female OCs hypersexualized and just kind of being thrusted onto the male MC with no chemistry or build-up at all. Also, always focusing on the male MC to have emotional depth and character arcs, and honestly, even like all the male MC's friends that are guys, they all have this like emotional depth. And then like the female Cs are just there to look hot and comment on stuff and pretend that they have a deeper connection to the main character than they actually do. I find it funny in shonen, they will write these beautifully compelling relationships between the male MC and the male MC's friend or rival, and then are shocked that people ship them. Like, brother, if you gave the main character as much as a thought-through relationship between him and his, like, pseudo-girlfriend, then people would stop wanting him to touch his bro. What's up with shonen anime and, like, never making the main relationship canon, but, like, constantly, like, flaunting it? Why is there no commitment, but, like, clearly there's an interest? So many do not realize that you can have the same profound relationship with a woman as you can a man. Honestly. Sure, not every woman you meet is going to be able to have that, but not every man you meet is going to be able to have that with you either. It just depends on whoever vibes with you best. You'll so often see it in anime of this nature, is this strange affection from the female love interest to the male MC without any work or build-up or narrative that really explains why she would have such affection. It's like the writers want that deep connection with the woman, but don't know how that grows over time. But they clearly understand how that grows with male relationships, because you'll see it all the fucking time. You'll see like the slow growing together friends of two male characters, and their relationship has depth and nuance. And then anything with a woman is like so shallow. It's like, is that what you want? Like, that sounds miserable. Like, a relationship like that sounds like a waste of everyone's time. My biggest advice is honestly, write your female characters like your male OCs. Make a character concept in a general story and then choose its gender and adjust accordingly once the gender is chosen. It's not bad to shift topics and mannerisms when it comes to female characters. Naturally, our gender does often play a role in our actions, our fears, our perceptions. I won't pretend that isn't a fact. However, I find that so often in medias like this, women aren't even given the chance to be expanded on. It's so often a thing of like, they just say it. Like, oh, this woman's strong. You never see her be strong. Oh, all their relationship building was done off screen. What's the point then? Don't be surprised when I think it's cringe then. And if you realize you're at fault for these flaws, that's okay. Don't let people tell you you're some awful person that hates women. Nuance exists, more likely than not. It's just what you know from what you grew up watching. And it's hard to know exactly what someone so vastly different from you feels and experiences. Even femme writers really struggle writing male characters in the same vein, just in slightly different ways. Honestly, a lot of female writers will write their male characters to be like super flat and overly obsessed with another person, normally either like if it's yaoi, it's a guy. If it's like straight romance, then it's just like some chick. Like there's no reason for him to be obsessed with. Like it's in my opinion, it's both self-indulgent. Both genders really struggle with writing characters that aren't flat for one's own pleasure. At least the most common flaw there. It takes genuine reflection and curiosity to understand someone so far outside yourself. Now, for how I notice a lot of masked viewers perceiving female characters, I'm sure all of you have seen the complex female character getting extreme hate for reasons male characters so rarely get hate for. Skylar White from Breaking Bad, for example. People hate her guts. calling her a cheater and being mad at her for being so weary and short with Walter. I think if she was a guy, people would like her a lot more because it's a state of relatability, honestly. I think a lot of mask viewers can't relate to her due to the fact that she's a woman. But if her story remained the same but she was a guy, you'd have so many connecting to her character to some degree. I think the complete detachment from women is strange. I find myself heavily relating to male characters all the time. I find it strange so many men can't see the same in female characters. Anyway, tell me about your female characters in the comments. If you like my art, consider checking out my Etsy or commissioning me. You can reach out to me on Discord and Instagram. That's all I have for today, folks. You got work tomorrow, or school, or ranting about writing again. But as always, don't dream dream wheat-based byproducts. Moi, je m'appelle mademoiselle Noire, et qu'on va pour la voix,